China's new foreign minister Qin Gang condemns recent threats from the United States, warning Washington it should not repeat provocations.
Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin arrives in Baghdad on an unannounced visit, barely 2 weeks before the 20th anniversary of the US-led invasion.
Strong turnout of France's nationwide strikes against the government's pension reform plans, with major rail disruptions across the country.
Gender equality is still 300 years away. That was UN Chief Antonio Gutteres' warning to the Commission on the Status of Women.
Unacceptable and a threat to our country. That's how China's new foreign minister has described recent comments made by the United States over Beijing's stance on Russia and the war in Ukraine. In a heated press conference, Qin Gang warned of a possible conflict if Washington did not retract its comments.
中国既不是危机的制造者，又不是危机的当事方，也没有向冲突任何一方提供武器。凭什么要向中国甩锅推责、制裁、施压，甚至威胁？对此我们绝不接受。
Qin Gang defended the close ties between China and Russia and called for the US to back down on recent comments if they wanted to avoid tension spiralling out of control. Beijing is denying the United States' repeated claims that China will provide Russia with weapons for its war in Ukraine.
不踩刹车，继续沿着错误的道路狂飙下去，再多的护栏也挡不住脱轨翻车，陷入对抗冲突。谁来承担其灾难性的后果？
This is not the first time tensions have threatened to boil over between the two superpowers. In early January, China conducted military drills around Taiwan in response to former US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visiting the island. The head of Chinese diplomacy warned again Tuesday against repeated provocations.
US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin arrived in Baghdad on Tuesday to, quote, reaffirm the strategic partnership between the United States and Iraq in a surprise visit on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the US-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein.
The U.S. commitment to expanding our partnership with the people and the government of Iraq. We're deeply committed to ensuring that the Iraqi people can live in peace and dignity, with safety and security, and with economic opportunity for all.
On March 20th, 2003, US troops launched their offensive backed by an international coalition. It opened one of the bloodiest pages of Iraqi history.
A challenging start for commuters in France as another day of strikes against the government's pension reforms began. All transport was hit hard, with unions vowing to bring the country to a halt. Many workers stayed at home, others struggled on.
C'est compliqué pour ceux qui sont obligés d'aller bosser, quoi. Les trains, on n'en a pas trop. Voilà, hein. Quand les gens habitent loin, c'est compliqué. Mais sinon, bon, je peux comprendre aussi. Les gens, ils en ont ras-le-bol. Hein. Travailler encore plus.
Organisers say more sectors have been mobilised than on previous strike days. As the opposition says, the movement is entering a critical phase.
Dans un grand nombre de secteurs décisifs pour la vie du pays, la grève est reconductible et on doit s'attendre à ce que demain et après-demain soient des jours encore de mobilisation sociale très intense et justifiée.
Between 20 and 30% of flights at Paris's two main airports were cancelled, while national and international travellers were also impacted by a reduction of train services. And there was no respite on the road network, with blockades of key logistical hubs. Polls show people are against the government's plans to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 and still support the strikes, particularly those who will be most affected, the youth. They made their anger felt in schools across the country.
It's impossible to extinguish the flames of discontent of Belgian firefighters who protested on Tuesday at the headquarters of the European Commission in Brussels. The firefighters are demanding salary, budget and personnel increases. Coming from all over the country, they first demonstrated near the Belgian Parliament and the seat of government. Later, they decided to take their protest to the heart of European institutions. The police used tear gas to drive them back. The United Nations Secretary-General has issued a dire warning to world leaders. Equality between women and men is an increasingly distant goal. Speaking at a meeting for the Commission on the Status of Women, Antonio Gutteres said women's rights are being abused, threatened and violated around the world. He added the progress made for decades is disappearing before our eyes.
Gender equality is growing more distant. On the current track, where Newman puts it 300 years away.
Closing the gender gap in innovation and technology is the focus of the 67th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, which opened at UN headquarters in New York on Monday.
Digital technologies have the potential to accelerate progress towards the SDGs by enabling the creation of new opportunities for education, health, agriculture, and entrepreneurship, among others.
If we do not have data on women, and if the algorithms are mainly designed by men, the risk is that new technologies will make our world even more unequal.
Over the next 2 weeks, participants from around the world will examine how gender equality can be achieved in the digital era and work to promote greater inclusivity for women in science, technology, engineering and maths.
Ukrainian authorities indicated that Ukraine will continue to defend Bakhmut for now, and the order has been issued to send reinforcements to this area. The Institute for the Study of War says Bakhmut is not intrinsically significant operationally or strategically. Taking the city is necessary but not sufficient for further Russian advances in Donetsk region, and Russian forces have already taken such heavy losses fighting for the city that their attack will very likely culminate after they have secured it, if not before. Now, the loss of Bakhmut is not therefore of major operational or strategic concern to Ukraine. But Ukraine's fight for Bakhmut has become strategically significant because of the current composition of Russian forces arrayed in the area. The opportunity to damage the Wagner Group elite elements along with other elite units if they are committed in a defensive urban warfare setting where the attrition gradient strongly favors Ukraine is an attractive one, the Institute for the Study of War says. Now, some Western reports have recently suggested that Ukraine is expanding its own elite manpower and scarce equipment on mainly Wagner Group prison recruits who are mere cannon fodder. The Institute for the Study of War says that observation is valid in general, although the pool of Russian convict recruits suitable for combat is not limitless, and the permanent elimination of tens of thousands of them in Bakhmut means that they will not be available for more important fights. Now, the UK Defence Ministry assesses that Russian military command is failing to properly equip its forces despite close combat engagements in Ukraine. According to its recent intelligence update, Russian military command is ordering mobilized reservists to assault Ukrainian concrete positions with only firearms and shovels. The Battle of Bakhmut may in fact severely degrade the Wagner Group's best forces, depriving Russia of some of its most effective and most difficult to replace shock troops.
Ukraine's military leaders say they will keep fighting for Bakhmut. Even as Russian forces encroach on the devastated eastern city they have spent more than 7 months trying to capture, at the cost of thousands of lives. In a statement released on Monday, President Zelensky's office said his top military brass agreed not to retreat and to press on with the fight to defend Bakhmut. The city in the Donetsk region has limited strategic value, and the battle for its capture is largely symbolic. Ukraine is also hoping to build up combat power elsewhere, while Moscow pours more troops into Bakhmut. And for now, Russia's shelling of the city and nearby villages continues as it pushes on with a three-sided assault aimed at finishing off Ukrainian resistance.
The chaos of the last Champions League final in Paris has a price for European football's governing body. UEFA has announced that it will refund tickets to more than 19,000 Liverpool fans and all those who were affected by crowds outside the Stade de France in Paris, where innocent supporters were pepper-sprayed and tear-gassed. Refunds will be available to Real Madrid supporters with tickets through the gates where the conditions were the worst. The Spanish side went on to win the game, securing a record 14th top-tier European trophy.
In the coming weeks, the Norwegian city of Bergen will open what it claims to be the longest bike and pedestrian tunnel in Europe. Originally created to be an escape tunnel for the tram line, the Bybanen passageway is just under 3 kilometers long and links the suburb of Fyllingsdalen to Bergen city centre.
I utgangspunktet så det jo en rømningstunnel for bybanen da. Men så var det jo kloke hoder som fant ut at det går jo an å sykle gjennom den rømningstunnelen også, og det var utgangspunktet. Og så ser vi at med å lage en gangbane her som attraktiv også, så
the tunnel features colorful dynamic lighting that's triggered when a cyclist or pedestrian enters at either end. The opening ceremony will be held in mid-April and will be marked with races and a bicycle parade.